Welcome back to the Top 6 show. Hit like buttons. Make sure you are subscribing. So much to speak about tonight. We're delving into Arsenal's transfer dealings. What is going on at the Emirates Stadium? We're getting the boys' opinions on that. Chelsea, massive link today from a huge source in South America that they are the leaders in the race for Garnacho, and the deal is close. We're taking a look at the situation with Tottenham. Thomas Frank, paperwork signed. He will be the new Tottenham manager. Could he be about to hijack Mbeumo to Manchester United or not? All that and much more to speak about today. We've got a brilliant panel with Tom Little. We've got man like David. We've got Doobs. We've got Henry Wright. And William is joining us. He's back. We haven't seen him since Arsenal dunked him out of the Champions League. He's back on the terrace again now. We're glad to see him back with us. Gentlemen, how are we all? We all good and well?
Yeah, just realised me and Henry are matching. We're in the same shirt.
Oh, you and Henry?
Yeah, me and Henry. Yeah.
So it actually kind of suits you, though.
Twins.
I'll just kind of hide the logo. There you
go. Who filled the shirt better though?
David.
Yeah, your arms look like the threads hanging down. Do you know what I mean?
2 pieces of string.
Cheese string.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody. Welcome. Hope everybody has had a good start to their week. Loads to delve into this evening, as we've mentioned. Loads of stories to discuss. And I wanted to start with you, Henry, because the paperwork is reportedly signed, and Thomas Frank is the new Tottenham Hotspur manager.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really happy about this. I think he's one of the most underrated managers in the league. I think he's a very good man manager, good tactician. He's worked with a low budget. You know, Brentford, some of the signings they've made that he's approved, like Mbeumo, for instance, we saw Flecken, lots of, let me reject that quickly, lots of decent signings. And I think we're doing a big change at the football club. Langar is expected to stay, but Paratici's coming back. When we had Paratici, we made some of our best signings, like Romero, Van der Ven, Porro, Udogi.
He was also a criminal, though.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's. I don't really care about that. I mean, allegedly, a criminal.
A football criminalism is slightly different.
Yeah,
that's all right then, isn't it?
It is clearly one, so that's fine. But yeah, I think with him, Thomas Frank, I think a lot of Spurs fans I've seen all over Twitter are against it, and I don't really understand why, because we've gone from a manager who granted won us a piece of silverware, which we haven't done in so long, but you can't have a season with 20 plus defeats. And Brentford were 18 points clear of us with a worse squad. So I look at, like, with less quality, less budget.
Fucking hell.
Well, yeah,
worse,
a worse squad. A worse squad then. But yeah.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the mother tongue of English there. Sorry.
And we've got, like, the stadium now. You know, the revenue stream has got coming. I think Thomas Frank's going to do well. I think the Brian Mbeumo or Mbeumo, however you want to pronounce it, saga is going to be very interesting. Paul O'Keefe said last night on the Last Word on Spurs that we are in the race. His preference is Man United. I do believe, though, if we put the same amount of money on the table, Thomas Frank can twist his arm. Like, we're obviously playing Champions League football. He'd be our best player by a country mile. He'd be our star player. Is he better than Bruno Fernandes? Is he better than Cunha? Probably not. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things to be positive about. I mean, people are already saying Beyonce's coming to Spurs. I mean, I don't care. Like, Thomas Frank with £150 million budget is better than Ange with £150 million budget. I think we can all agree on that. Sorry?
The managers don't make the signings. So it's irrelevant if you've got Thomas Frank and Fergie in charge. If you've got people making decisions upstairs at your football club, which is the way it wants to go. Because when Frank was at Brentford had one of the best recruitment setups in the country. It wasn't just Thomas Frank sat there one day and went, I've got this great lad here, from the French second division. He's a good developer, but he had a brilliant setup around them, identifying these players. If you're identifying the wrong players, which you have been doing for a number of years now, why would it change?
Because I think under Langer, who was Aston Villa's director of football, Andrew approved and publicly come out and said he wanted Timo Werner. Now, fuck knows why he would approve that, because that is a car crash waiting to happen. He's looking at bringing majority of his coaching staff across. We're looking at trying to, their main technical director or their head scout, we're looking at bringing across. The club want to adopt a similar data strategy to what Brentford have got. And we've got a better squad than Brentford. Like I won't hear anyone say that they've got a better team than us. We do. Let's just be other than Mbeumo and Wisa, right? And okay, now they've got Kelleher. Every other player we've got.
I'd take a couple of their midfielders before yours.
Who?
Damsgaard's a brilliant one.
Either Kulusevski or Maddison.
I'd take him over Maddison, yeah.
Tottenham have a better squad.
I'd have Norgard. I think Norgard's better than any other.
There's not much in it. But
you'd have him over Bergvall.
I'd have Norgard over Bergvall, yes.
But like, what's the debate here? Because he said that they have a better squad than Brentford, and like they do. So like, I feel like we're like nitpicking.
I think
like he didn't say that every single player is better. He just said that we have a better squad.
No, but I think it's quite tight.
So you think that Brentford could have won the Europa League?
Yeah.
Nah. Did Brentford beat Frankfurt?
I think you're being disingenuous.
Well, no. Let's put it like this: if Man United and Spurs can make the final, Brentford have every chance to make the final.
I don't think so.
There were 16 teams that finished above you. So 16 teams there. I can sit there and go, you know what? If Tottenham can do it, maybe they could.
But you're looking at like a one-off season, though. Like this is a one-off season where you got Tottenham sitting this low.
I've got to judge it on that. I've got to judge it on that metric. In this Europa League campaign where Tottenham won it, do I think if I grabbed Brentford and put them in that same position, do I think they could achieve similar things? I do, because I think they are the better manager, and I think the squad is quite close.
That'll be, you on hand and heart think the squad is close.
Yeah,
not
yes, 100%.
All right, look. Okay, fine. So then, Tom, if you were to do a combined 11, how many Brentford players get in starting 11?
What? So with the Brentford squad from last season?
Yeah, like we've just saw. Like how many players get into this?
I just need to figure out because they play a back five where Tottenham don't.
Remember who's in the Brentford squad first. That's the key bit.
No, I'm just trying to figure out where I can get
if you can't remember who's in the Brentford squad, then they don't
I know who's in the Brentford squad. I give Tottenham both centre backs in Van der Ven and Romero. We've not
both fullbacks.
The fullbacks.
Both fullbacks.
Vicario
as well.
They're gonna
have to get both fullbacks to be fair, because all of Brentford's have been injured all year. Goalie wise,
it's not better than their fullbacks. It's okay to say they're just
not better. I think when Aaron Hickey was fit, he was one of the best left backs.
So are you taking Flecken or Vicario?
Because
it's like asking someone to nick my wife. Neither of them are very good. I'll go. Flecken had some really good games last year, but he had a couple of howlers in him. I'm gonna edge it to Vicario if.
Okay, so that's the back four and goalkeeper. Midfield?
Norgard, Damsgaard, and you can have...
You're not putting Bergvall in that. He's crazy.
No, it's a midfield three, isn't it?
Or James Maddison. Like,
or Maddison over Damsgaard. Are you mad?
I am.
Tom, come on, be serious.
All right,
come on, bro. Come on. Maddison over...
Yeah, look, we know Spurs have a better squad. That's why Andrew's been sacked, because he's massively underachieved with what he had. Back to, just because of interest of time, because we've only got like a couple of hours to do this show. What's not being discussed is what the bigger situation here that Henry just discussed. That he sounds very confident that they could take Mbeumo away from Manchester United.
Yeah,
that for me. 5 minutes ago should have been what you man were jumping on to talk about, but we're arguing over Maddison and Damsgaard.
I don't think said it with any confidence, though. His whole argument was, Thomas Frank might twist his arm. I don't think your argument can be my manager.
I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I want you guys to discuss that. I think that's what the audience are slightly more interested in.
Yeah, I mean, look, like Thomas Frank was his manager, right? He's had a lot of success underneath him. He's now going to be at Tottenham, whether we like it or not. They are a traditional Big Six club. They have an amazing stadium. They got nice facilities. They just won the Europa League. They're now bringing in Thomas Frank. I think he could convince Mbeumo to join him. I don't think it's like a far-fetched thing. Obviously, Manchester United are a more attractive club. Manchester United are a much bigger club. But, I mean, I could definitely see Mbeumo thinking, well, Ruben Amorim, his future isn't certain, right? There's a possibility that he's gone by the time we get to Christmas. Whereas Thomas Frank, he's now going in, brand new manager at Tottenham. There's going to be a lot more time afforded. I could definitely see it. I don't think it's a crazy thing.
I struggle to. With Mbeumo, it's clear that Champions League isn't the big thing. Otherwise, he wouldn't be going United. He would have went Newcastle. So saying that we have Champions League, that clearly isn't a big factor in his immediate decision. He's not sitting there going, I've got to pick a club that's got Champions League this year. So then it's a case of, right, is he going to, in my mind, it's either he's going to go to United for the allure of playing for United and the wealth of playing for United and this, that, and the other, and what it is to play United, or he's going to go to Tottenham because they've got his old manager. Now, I think he's done however many years under Thomas Frank. I think he just wants something different. I think that's the point in the career that he's at. If it comes down to Tottenham because Thomas Frank's there, or Manchester United who've done all the groundwork already, I think he's going to go United. If he was that asked about Champions League, he'd have a case. But the fact that I've seen him turn down all these Champions League clubs to go to United, it's clearly something about United that's attractive. And Tottenham don't have anything like that. But we got a manager coming in who used to work under. And I don't necessarily see how that's the key decision point. Because if he was that desperate to work under Thomas Frank, he would have stayed at Brentford.
But then why would he stay at Brentford to work on these Thomas Frank? If a bigger club comes in, what I'm saying is I think that Tottenham and Manchester United right now are on the same playing field. Obviously, United historically are just more attractive. So it seems like that's the obvious answer. But I think there's more stability for him if he goes to Tottenham. Ruben Amorim could possibly get sacked. Now, what if the next manager doesn't rate you? Now you're at Manchester United, you're in limbo, like a lot of these talented players that they've signed over the years. Then next thing you know, people are calling you a flop and all these different things. I don't think it's crazy to say that Thomas Frank could convince him to go over to Tottenham.
I think
that's kind of where I'm getting at.
Obviously, United are looking at Gyokeres. They've got Ahmad, they've got Cunha, they've got Bruno Fernandes. They can all play in those positions. I think there's a lot more competition at Man United. Whereas at Tottenham, let's just be brutally honest, he'd be our best forward by a country mile. He starts every game, like comfortably out. I know Brennan Johnson, in terms of silverware, has just won us the Europa League, but Mbeumo or Mbeumo, however you want to pronounce it, he's a much better footballer.
Does Kulusevski not play off the right dog?
No, he's going to play in midfield next season.
I was just going to say, if he goes to Spurs, there's level of stability, you'd say, if Thomas Frank goes. However, I feel like that stability is capped at a level. I don't see Spurs making any significant gains or competing for any significant trophies with Thomas Frank as their manager. So I think their max is like 5th with Thomas Frank. Whereas if he goes to United will try a lot harder to try and be the best team in England compared to what Spurs will try.
Dude, what do you make of it? Do you think there's a legitimate? I mean, look, I'll read out some of the story. I mean, Ben Jacobs has just said before we went live that Mbeumo has made his preference to join United clear, and all the suitors are aware. He said that Thomas Frank is expected to arrive at Tottenham. It could naturally change transfer targets, but suggestions of a Spurs hijack for Mbeumo are for now premature. United are solely focused on trying to get an agreement with Brentford. That kind of matches what Fabrizio and others have said, that almost they're suggesting that the player's made his mind up irrespective. Do you agree with what the journalists are saying, or do you feel that there really could be a new world come tomorrow morning?
I just think, for me, obviously, as Tom said, he doesn't really care about Champions League football. Clearly, the fact that he's keen on the Manchester United move. Thomas Frank is a factor in this, but I think that, if I'm honest, I think that's the only factor of him maybe going to Spurs, but I don't see it happening. I think Man United, it's just the name Manchester United on its own, I think has a big pull regardless where you finish in the league. So I don't see him swaying. I think he's set on Manchester United, and I just think he's probably sitting there going, other players are thinking the same, like they want to go Manchester United. Hopefully they can attract other players. Maybe the project's a bit more appealing. So that's just what I think as well.
Yeah, Sky Sports have literally just tweeted saying we've stepped up our interest for Semenyo from Bournemouth. Sky Sports last put out 5 minutes
ago.
For
me, I said it last night. That'd be a very good signing. I said it last night and I'll say it again. And Paul O'Keefe's the only anomaly here because he's very good at what he does, Paul O'Keefe. But there's none of us here on this panel believe that the talks with Thomas Frank have only started in the last 7 days, right? None of us believe Spurs had no idea about him. So the fact that they would have already have mentioned Thomas Frank to Mbeumo when negotiating with him weeks ago, they would have already. There's no way.
But you're assuming this.
No,
what
I'm
if
not.
Thomas Frank wasn't their first option?
I'm not assuming it, because the links to Thomas Frank have actually been very, very big for a while now, and Big Ange being sacked. He's been gone for 2 months. It was very well publicized around 2 months ago. I think it was Matt Law that said that he's seen as a dead man walking. He's going to go at the end of the season. The only reason it was prolonged for 3 weeks is because they won the trophy, and they rightfully gave it some leeway and some space and time. But I don't believe that Spurs sacked Ange last week, Wednesday, and then right, let's start initial conversations with the new manager. Those conversations would have taken place. They would have definitely had those conversations with Mbeumo that they're looking to bring him in as a manager. He would have had an idea that his current manager at Brentford could also become the Spurs manager when he turned them down. There's absolutely no chance that was just, in my opinion, there's no way that he said no to Spurs, woke up yesterday morning and gone, actually, I might change my mind now because my old boss might be going there.
But how do you know that Thomas Frank was their first choice? Like, you don't know who they would have won. Being a journalist has got to be the easiest job. He was one of their choices. So again, my opinion is based on the credible stories that we've been reading for weeks. Thomas Frank has been one of the favorites, if not the favorite, and a talking point by Spurs fans based on news stories of him being linked to the club for at least 6 to 8 weeks now. I've seen those videos. It's such like an obvious link.
So again, so for me, it's not an obvious link. It's not an obvious link though, because the journalist has just plucked it out of the air and gone, I think if Ange goes, they'll go for him. He's an obvious link to us as fans because Spurs have shown a genuine interest in him. They've been keeping tabs on him. They've had contact with intermediaries to talk about what his next move would be, what he's thinking. This is what clubs do.
But what I'm saying is, Terry, right? So again, like whenever you look at what these journalists say, it's always sources and this and that.
Yes.
The average fan could tell you, Ange is struggling at Tottenham. They need a new manager. Thomas Frank is at Brentford, overperforming. It's a very easy link to make. It doesn't mean that.
Yes, but that's again, there is a difference between a journalist or a fan saying, I'd love us to go for Thomas Frank, he's doing brilliantly, to Spurs are actively monitoring that manager, scouting that manager, researching that manager, and have placed him upon a list of potential managers to replace the current guy. There's a very fundamental difference between those two things. It's been well documented. And I don't believe that they only decided last week to sack Big Ange. I think it's been something they decided many, many weeks ago. So the fact I believe they sacked him weeks ago, at least internally made the decision that he would go regardless of the Europa League final. I don't think they just started work on Thomas Frank last week. Therefore, when Mbeumo is being discussed, there's no way Spurs are sitting there talking to Mbeumo's representatives and not saying, by the way, we're going to be approaching Frank as well to be the new manager. There's no way that's not coming up in a conversation. If any of you are trying to recruit someone and you're in the process of trying to recruit someone they're close with, you're mentioning that as part of your pitch because you're trying to get them both in. It's actually,
do we not think the players also asked himself? He's also sat there in these meetings and went, who's actually going to be my manager next year?
Who's going to be the new manager? I mean, these are all parts of those conversations that let's be honest. And by the way, he's probably also asked Manchester United, is this new guy being backed? What's the plan? Who else are you trying to buy? What else is going on at the football club? I expect those questions in our direction too. I'm just not that pressed about this. That's why I'm not. So I said it last night, 95% sure he'll still come to United, and I'll roast and eat my hat if he doesn't. And all the media stories outside of the ones close to Tottenham have not changed their tune whatsoever, really. They've kept the door open with, there could be a change, but right now he's focused on this. So, yeah, I still think United will get him. But on Thomas Frank, I think it's an excellent appointment for Spurs. I actually believe he's maybe the best manager in the world for them, or a manager of his ilk. All the Spurs fans crying that they wanted Xavi or a manager of that level. All that would end up happening is another Jose, another Conte. Your club needs to operate within its means. And I don't even mean that disrespectfully. You
It's
need a
realistic.
manager. It is realistic, and you'll get this man will overachieve with you. Thomas Frank will overachieve based on the squads that you guys build. He will get you in and around European football every year. He'll have a very good win percentage. It'll be smart football, defensive one week, attacking the next based on your opponents. He's a humble guy. He'll be very happy with the squad that he gets put together. He's not going to sit there like the elite end managers would and cry and moan and slag off the board every week in a press conference because he doesn't have what City have, because he doesn't have what Liverpool have, because he doesn't have what PSG have. I think this is the best move that Tottenham could have made personally. And I'm far more. Thomas Frank to Spurs scares me more than if they sign Pep Guardiola today. I think he's for them. He's a better signing.
You just know Pep will be gone in 12 months.
Less than that. We've seen what happens to Pep at City when he doesn't quite have the right ingredients for what he's trying to cook. Can you imagine him at Tottenham? Fuck me. Imagine how many chunks of his skin he would take out per game trying to play his football with that Spurs squad.
Imagine go and sign Chirpy.
You know what I mean?
Nah, you're right, mate.
No, but Thomas Frank is just like in the nicest way possible. He's just so mid that it just fits Tottenham. He's just so mid. I'm sorry. He's nothing special. You're not going to... Again, you're going to the Champions League. You're not winning the Champions League with Thomas Frank.
You're not winning it with Enzo Maresca.
Exactly.
I'd put my hat more on Enzo Maresca than I would on Thomas Frank. There's Thomas Frank
based on what?
Because he's just not very good. His teams don't play like.
Yeah, but David, we've just discussed that if you bring in an elite manager, it's going to be the same cycle with Tottenham. They're not going to get back. They're going to start saying stuff in the press conferences. Then eventually, it's not going to end well. Look at Jose. Look at Conte.
No, but at least
until the owners change, nothing's going to. It's the same in my opinion with Chelsea, but that's a different topic. But
my point is, at least you should give the illusion that you are trying to compete for the.
Okay, so other than Thomas Frank,
if you are a big club,
what manager?
Wait. So if you are a big club, you have to compete. Is that what you just said?
No, not quite. But we'll get there. I know what you're trying to do, dudes. We'll get to it. Don't worry. I'm not stupid. I know what you're trying to do, but whatever. We'll get there.
But just quickly, because I know Terry does want to move on. Dave, other than Thomas Frank, what manager should Tottenham sign where the rest of the Premier League go, all right, they're serious?
You should have got Iraola.
Iraola and Frank aren't that different.
Yeah,
I think Iraola's miles better than him.
You just got tapas bias there, bruv. That's all that is.
It's not tapas bias at all.
Come on,
you're acting like Thomas Frank's English. Thomas Frank's Norwegian.
No, I'm not acting like he's English. I just listen. He's a very good manager, Iraola, but I think they are much of a muchness right now. There is no evidence to suggest that Iraola would do a better job with a bigger team than Thomas Frank.
I think there is. I get the argument of Thomas Frank has done very well with little parts. I get that. However, I think his football has very low limits. I think it makes bad teams good, not good teams great. Whereas I think Iraola could make a good team great.
Okay.
Is Thomas Frank not just played within the means that he's got? Because when I know it's going to sound stupid, when they were in the Championship, they were one of the best teams to watch, and they were breaking all sorts of goal scoring records. And there's a reason Watkins was getting 30 goals and getting moved to the Premier League, and Tony got 32. And when they come to the Premier League, they've had to adapt the game. It's the one thing that other promoted clubs, i.e. Burnley from a couple of years ago, didn't do, and they suffered for it. So Frank showed the ingenuity to come up and adapt the style of play where needed and change a couple of pieces to ensure they survived. And as they've spent more time in the league, you've seen bits and pieces of that team improve again. The likes of a Damsgaard coming in that first season, you would never have seen a Damsgaard in that Brentford midfield. That was a rigid midfield three of workhorses who kick legs and get the ball up to Tony. Now they played a nicer style of football. Is it, I don't disagree that Iraola's team at their best plays better football, but I think Thomas Frank's football is a little bit more sustainable, which is what we saw with when Bournemouth had their wobble this year when they had a couple of injuries.
Listen, let's let the viewers have your say on that. We've got a super chat here from Zane. He says, question to all Spurs to all Spurs panel, well, it's Henry. Is there any fear that Thomas Frank could turn out similar to Nuno, who might not be able to perform under higher pressure?
Well, there's always going to be an element of risk. I don't think Nuno was given the time. He only had, 3 months? He won manager of the month, and then got sacked. So, I think, potentially, but I think Thomas Frank is ready for that next step. I don't think Nuno at the time, adapted well enough to Spurs, and I don't think Spurs adapted well enough to Nuno. I don't think it was a match. I think Frank and Spurs is a perfect match.
I hear that. Also, to Will's point around Amorim could be sacked. He could be. You are right. Let's not forget, though, that in the last 5 years, Spurs have had 8 managers as well. So as much as he could join, Jose, some of it interims as well, but Jose, Ryan Mason, Nuno, Conte, the guy that replaced Conte, Ryan Mason came in again. Seven since 2019.
Christ.
So again, and this would be the counter argument to Will's would be, I join. Frank has a start at Tottenham like Nuno did, and he's sacked in 3 months, and then I only joined Spurs because my old manager was there, and now I'm lumbered. There is that element as well. But listen, joining either Spurs or Man United, I will be very honest with you, it is a risk. It definitely is. As a United fan, I'm looking for new starts. I would rather get hardworking players with quality and good mentality. No more merchants. No to Osimhen also. I mean, look, there's no, when you say no to Osimhen, I mean, where is the, you're allowed to have any opinion you want, but it has to be based on something. What are you basing Osimhen being a mercenary on? I think you said no more merchants. I think you mean mercenaries.
I think so. The reports were saying that he's basically outpriced himself from a move with Saudi. Al Hilal have offered him I think 40 mil a year, and he wants more. So
I think he wants more to go to Saudi, because let's be honest with you, you go to Saudi at 25 and you stay there for 5 years, you have zero football legacy that anyone cares about. You could score 8. Sure. So I think that's more. I think again that's what I think it is. I think certain players will go there if it means ridiculous amounts of money. But the way he kept on pricing himself out of a move as well, that sounds more to me like someone that didn't really want to go. I'll take 40 mil. There's 40 mil. Actually, I want 50 now. No, okay, great, 50. Now I want 60. I just feel like it was just, I don't know. But there's nothing, what I'm saying is there's nothing about Osimhen that suggests to me that he's work shy or doesn't want to work hard or will be a bad influence on the team. I don't know where people get this from, DJ, so I'd love to get your opinion. Mixed Mitchell here says Frank is a much better coach than Maresca.
Wrong, but cool.
It's not crazy to say that. It's not crazy to say that.
It's very crazy to say that. But
I don't agree with that. But at the same time, the way David's trying to downplay Thomas Frank, I don't agree with that either. I think Maresca is better, but there's not much in it.
What's Thomas Frank's best finishing position? What, 9th, 10th?
Okay, what are we? Brentford have got literally not even an 1/8 of the money you have.
That's cool, but Maresca's done more than he has in the league.
Okay, managing Chelsea.
Yeah, at Chelsea. Okay, wait. So what would
the argument is that Frank is a better coach than Maresca, based on what?
Because I would say
he's got Brentford into the Premier League for the first time since the 1930s. They've been in the top
Maresca
league.
didn't do that with Leicester.
But Leicester have been in the Premier League.
Leicester came back up after going down. They had all the money.
Just so you know, I'm on your side. I'm not with David here. I'm on your side. I'm the Chelsea fan. I'm on your side. I'm just saying.
This is just the Spurs agenda. Let's just be honest.
It's not a Spurs agenda.
All right, so let me ask you, David. So what would Enzo Maresca do with Brentford?
Nothing.
Well, I don't know. I would have, if he had his season with Leicester, I could have answered that question. But Leicester got a very high number of points in the Championship.
Oh, David, there were Leicester fans that had doubts over Maresca.
Maresca's probably done very similar with Leicester.
David, there were Leicester fans that had doubts over Maresca towards it. Even though they won the Championship, they had doubts over Maresca.
Yeah, and I know a Leicester fan who said that he was very good, and actually the reason why they dropped off was because they had loads of injuries, and when he said he wanted signings, that they didn't give him to him.
Okay,
so we can speak to Leicester fans, but depending on who you speak to, you get a different opinion. Same with the Chelsea.
I'll be honest, David. Doing what he's done at Brentford, 2 top half finishes with the budget that he's had, with the squad situation that he's had, to me is more impressive than taking a Chelsea squad that should have been getting Champions League already and getting them Champions League football.
That's
and
not
you
true.
fumbled
Again,
second
when
place.
he was,
Let's
but
not
when,
forget.
again, when Maresca was appointed as manager, most people didn't have us finishing in the top 4.
That's cap. That's cap.
That's not
I
cap.
did.
That's
That's
cap.
not cap. That
That's
isn't.
cap.
I did.
No.
That's cap.
It's not. That's not BS. It's not. It isn't. It's not.
Not, bro.
I
A lot of bro.
I can Terry can.
You talk
Terry
to too many rivals.
You can no. It's not even about rivals. Half the Chelsea fans don't even like Maresca when he was appointed, saying, "Oh, he's a championship manager."
Well, that's exactly.
Yeah,
I think that's the point of the comment, isn't it?
No, I don't think. No. I just think that Maresca's
No.
done more. Maresca's done more than Frank has.
David, can I ask you something?
Maresca took a team that spent
argue that
1.2
Frank,
billion
I would
from
argue-
6th to 4th.
You could argue. Hold on. You could argue that Thomas Frank would do a better job with Brentford than Pep Guardiola would. Does that make him a better manager than Pep Guardiola?
David,
No.
can I ask you a question?
So until
Are you part
Thomas
Italian? Are
Frank
you part
does
Italian?
more,
Are you part Italian?
I ain't hearing it. I'm not.
Are you part Italian?
No, I'm not part Italian.
Okay, just seems
Your
like you have
missus
some sort of
Italian.
connection with Maresca, like like
No, it's not about that.
And like you're quick to defend him,
No,
and now you're
no,
sitting
no.
there saying that he's
No,
miles
it's
clear
just
from-
no. I just think that
David,
making bad teams making bad teams good is a skill, and like it's impressive. But to make actually make a good team compete, and carry on in what they're doing and going to Champions League.
Frank's
and this,
never
that,
had
the
that
other.
Yes.
opportunity.
We will get the answers going more into next season. We will. We could probably go around on this one for hours. I think there's some great points being made. I want to thank Half Man, Half Amazing for becoming an official member of the Terrace, and Maximum Potential as well. So thank you to both of you for becoming TFT members on the show today. Moving on from this Tottenham conversation. Oh, actually, there's a super chat about it as well. It says, David, you think Frank would get top 4 with Chelsea?
No.
Yeah. At least he's backing his opinion there. He said that. Speaking of Chelsea, it brings us on to our next bit of news. Massive source, tier 1 source from Argentina today has stated, Dupes, that Garnacho is close to leaving Manchester United, and Chelsea are leading the race, closely followed by Arsenal. And the journalist that has put this news out, whose name is Gastón Edul, is very well respected. He's the guy that broke the Alvarez to City news before anybody in Europe knew about it, as an example. He's that guy. He's spoke on it twice today. He said that he's now saying that Garnacho does not want to move to Italy. His preference is to stay in the Premier League. Arsenal and Chelsea are in the race. Chelsea are leading it. Thoughts on that being, especially now with this talk saying that you guys are pulling away from Ekitike, is this the guy to complete the summer sort of extension of your attack with Delap, Gittins, and Garnacho? Is Garnacho? Sounds like Garnacho is the star signing, according to this report.
I don't want Garnacho anywhere near Chelsea Football Club. I'm sorry. Like I've been watching him in the past couple of seasons at Manchester United. I genuinely don't know what is he actually good at. Like his dribbling is meh. He's not rapid fast. His finishing, he scored one brilliant bicycle kick against Everton. That's like the only good moment I can remember him having. Like I personally think Jamie Gittins, if that deal was to happen, I think that's a sideways move that doesn't really improve us, but I take it. Garnacho, in my opinion, is a backwards move because I think Madueke is better than him. I think Neto is better than him. Esteval is going to be better than him. I just don't want Garnacho at Chelsea, man. If Arsenal come in for him, I think that makes them even worse as well. Like, I don't know. Yeah, Garnacho for me, not for me. Like, I just don't rate him at all.
It's too much of a gamble. Like, I think he's got potential and he's got ability, but you need ready now players. You want to take the next step, which is like moving on to winning league titles. I think Garnacho is too big of a gamble. Like you're looking at that. Right. Who's the Dortmund winger? Is it Gittins?
Gittins. That's why I'm against that signing.
Yeah, that's another gamble.
Well,
Sorry?
it's very like underwhelming signings that Chelsea are looking at the moment. Like, so you make Champions League football, and then I think like Liam Delap's solid, right, for the money. But now you're looking at bringing in like Gittins from Dortmund and then possibly Garnacho from Manchester. It's like these don't seem like moves you make if you're trying to be a serious club that wants to go on a deep run in the UCL, that wants to compete for the Premier League title next season. I just have a feeling that Chelsea's owners don't really care about winning. I think they care more so about making profit, right? I feel like you guys are starting to become like another version of like a Dortmund, where you want to get younger kids, build them up, then sell them on, because these aren't players that are going to help you win anything significant. So I just don't understand. Like we all know what Chelsea need. You need more experience.
I think we're in the middle ground though with Chelsea. I think Chelsea's grand plan is to be dead good in 2.5 years, 3 years time. So right now they're buying the players that in 2.5, 3 years time, if they've played enough, if they've had that experience, if they've gelled with this group of players, they're ready then to be part of this,
Well, they've been
this
doing that
2028 super team full of these youngsters that we loaned out for 4 years and players that we've had and developed at the club for the time. I don't think Chelsea are going into it going 2025, 26. We're going to do it. They're going 27, 28. We'll have Andre Santos ready. Esteval will be ready. Palmer will be further along in his development. Caicedo will be there. Young winger that we signed will be there. Delap will be there. All these players will have developed and hit the point at the right time to where we've got a 3-4 year window to where we are where everything's ready, and we have the advantage at that point of all these players have played together for that long, so that they don't need a season to get to grips with what they want to do. That's where I just think we're at the middle point of this grand plan that they've got. Do I think it's going to work? Who knows? I don't personally think it will do, but I can see why they're still got this weird age gap on 24-year-olds. You're not allowed to go over 24 or whatever, because you get a 27-year-old by the time you're ready. That 27-year-old's 30, maybe 31, and
not only that,
not part of the plan.
My issue with that, Tom.
I was going to say you need to consistently bring in Champions League revenue in order for you to keep buying these young stars.
Yeah.
And if everyone improves, I think the signing that makes sense is Ekitike. I think he had an unbelievable season at Frankfurt, right? Garnacho, for me, massive, massive red flag, that is, if I was a Chelsea fan. Gittins, I'd be more on board with, because he's got some Champions League experience and he's had a good year at Dortmund. But yeah,
Garnacho's got Champions League experience.
My issue with what Tom's just said.
Sorry?
Garnacho's got Champions League experience.
And how did that work out?
I mean, Gittins hasn't been great.
Well, he scored 4 goals in the Champions League this year. It's pretty good.
Yeah, but he also
just very quickly. James, the United stand isn't the source, you absolute fucking amoeba. They're the aggregator that the source is in brackets, you moron. Sorry to be rude, but fuck my life. Read the tweet, you fucking bellend. Sorry, back to you.
My issue with what Tom's just said, right, with the ownership, is fair play. That's what they might be trying to do. But what about the past 3 years? Like, they've been signing young kids. Other than the very first transfer window they've been signing these young kids for long contracts since they've come in. So I'm at the point now as a Chelsea fan, and there are Chelsea fans I know that agree with me on this, that are like, we've waited long enough. My nose is bleeding. We've waited long enough. Like, we want to win now. So fair play to the rest of. Yeah, my nose is bleeding. Let me.
All right, go sort it out. Sorry, it's just the way you. Sorry, I'm not laughing that your nose is bleeding. It's just the way that broke into.
Again, I disagree.
Hang on, I just want to say, Chelsea Football Club. The news of you might be signing Garnacho just made one of your fans' nose bleed live on camera. That's a message. But I'll take the 60 mil, thank you.
I know Will's saying that we're going to become bougie Dortmund or whatever. I just think it's all nonsense, personally. It's just like if you're looking at Chelsea and you're being honest with yourself, you can see what Chelsea are trying to build. When Chelsea put the foot down and go, this is the season when we're going to win something serious, I think the signings will change. And also, what I think is really mad is that you're making these assumptions based on the weak transfer window you have before the Club World Cup. That's not when everyone's making their signings. So the transfer window doesn't open for another 2 or 3 weeks. So I'd be very surprised if this is Chelsea's final business. So again, making these I don't know why when it comes to Chelsea, one thing happens and the overarching opinion changes so much. But
Bro, we're not saying that. We're not saying that, but we're just saying we're just going off of we're just going off of the signings. We're just going off of the signings that they've signed in the past, and they haven't signed like hardly any proven players. Like Gittins for me. Gittins for me
is a sideways move. I disagree with you.
Why is it?
But where's the ambition then from Chelsea? Because like Rodrigo is right there, right? Like Rodrigo's not happy.
We tried signing Rafinha when he was at Leeds. And
no. Rodrigo right now, not like 4 or 5 years ago with Rafinha. Like Rodrigo is right there. He's at Real Madrid. He's not happy. He's playing out of position. Your left wing is wide open. Like that's
because it doesn't fit Chelsea's immediate plan.
He's 23.
Exactly. That's what's wrong with the club.
But that's not the main factor here. The whole point I said is Chelsea are not expecting to be challenging for the Champions League and the Premier League in the next 2 years, in my opinion. Rodrigo is not going to join a club this summer who are going, listen, we're not asked for the next 2 years. We just want to get Champions League. Rodrigo's just been at Real Madrid for how many years? He's going to want to move to a club where he can compete for these top honours. That's why he doesn't fit Chelsea's plan. Not the age, the fact that what Rodrigo wants to do in the short term doesn't line up with what Chelsea want to do in the short term. Chelsea need a player who right now will be happy to develop for another year or two. And then once everything comes together, they have basically 9 or 10 players who've been at the club for 4 years, have all hit the start of their peak at the same point and are ready to have 4 years to go. That's how they want to build it.
Again, if we want to sign Rodrigo, well, we can't hear you. I don't know.
You're on mute, Will.
You're on mute. But anyway, if we wanted to sign Rodrigo, right, is Rodrigo going to be worth it to us? Question mark.
Yes.
Plus, hold on. Let me finish my point. Jesus. Is he going to be worth it to us? Question mark. And the second question mark is he going to fit within the wage structure? Is Rodrigo going to take 120 odd K wage cut to fit within our wage structure? If those two answers are no, then we're not going to sign him. So but again, you don't even know whether we are going to go for him or not. One, we're not even sure if Rodrigo is available yet. We don't know what Xabi Alonso's going to do. And two, he literally might not be available. If he doesn't move at all this window, has every club just missed out on an opportunity that was never even there? Like,
but the thing is though, like, how do you know?
You're making overarching statements about a transfer window that hasn't even started.
No, but it's not that hard. You go to the player, you see if he's open to negotiate on wages, personal terms. Then if you get that done, then you go to like Real Madrid, you say, I have like 80 million euros, or then you negotiate. What I'm saying is, right, Chelsea, and to go back to what Tom is trying to say with that, they want to build a team that's been there for years. Chelsea are only like 3 pieces away from being a legit contender. They don't have to keep buying these young players. They have a very good foundation there already. They just need some proven, experienced players. So it's not like they're a team that's that far off where you have to keep on developing. If they go sign a Rodrigo, and if they go get the Mike Maignan, who only has a year left on his contract, shouldn't cost that much. Those 2 signings right there could have them in contention for the Premier League right there.
David, can I ask you something? What about a signing like Bradley Barcola, who's on 115,000 euros a week, who actively wants to leave PSG and Bayern Munich are interested in, or Nico Williams? Like Nico Williams.
Nico Williams does not fit anyone's wage structure.
No, I'm not saying but
exactly.
You can agree a contract where you whack him out on 12 years or whatever you're doing at a lower wage with like bonuses. There's wingers out there that fit your age. I think Bradley Barcola, you should be all over that.
I think again, I would take both players, and I think both players would be an upgrade on what we currently have. However, Nico Williams made it very clear that he's not going to budge on his wage. So he's not the player we break our wage structure over. He's just not. Sorry. Barcola is someone that I'd really want as well. But if the scouts say, we prefer this person and this person before we speak to Bradley Barcola, then that's what the scouts want. But I'm not going to be like, they don't know what they're doing, because I can see what they're doing and I've backed them for what they're doing, and so far I've been right. So I'm not going to veer off from that.
You're backing the owners because they've been right so far.
I think what the owners have done was needed. I think what the owners have done at Chelsea is what was needed to be done at Chelsea for ages.
What? just go for this. Just sign young kids.
I think that the Chelsea before had no foundation, and what it yielded was sprouts of small success, but nothing tangible and sustained.
Small success.
That's what the old Chelsea was.
Yeah, but
again, I am not here to compete for FA Cups and Carabao Cups. We had been failing in the league. We've been failing in the league before Clear Lake. We've been failing in the league since we won it. Chelsea. What's funny about Chelsea is that Chelsea are very rarely in title races. They either win the title or they're 30 points off it. There is very rarely an in between. Very rarely. I want to be the team that every single season we are within 5 points of winning titles, because that to me is the barometer of whether you're actually going to have same success or.
Okay, and where's the proof that that's going to work under this ownership?
My point is that I'm willing to see out this plan because I think this is one of the best.
So David's willing to wait 15 years. He's waiting to wait 15 years. I'm not waiting. That's what David's willing to do.
I'm not going to wait 15 years. How am I going to wait 15 years?
Just keep signing the 15-year-old from like Argentina. A little 14-year-old from Ecuador.
We established, Will, that the plan is within the next 3 years. That's why they've signed. Like this Esteban and this Andre
Santos. What I don't
understand
is why not accelerate? But look, Chelsea have a very good team. So we're not talking about Tottenham. We're not talking about Manchester United, right? If this is who we're but if this is who we're talking about, then I fully understand, Tom, what you're saying. If this is Manchester United and we're saying, oh, well, why would he go there? It's a 3-year, 4-year. I get that. Chelsea are right there. Chelsea are a team that next season.
They're not right there.
Again.
Chelsea should be competing for the title next season. You got Cole Palmer, Caicedo, Enzo, right? You got Reece James. You got Cucurella, who's been playing at a very high level. Chelsea are right there.
Their centre backs have no experience and are young. Both their goalkeepers, as it stands, because Mike Maignan coming in yet. Both their goalkeepers are liabilities. Their winger quality is horrendous. And their striker is massively inconsistent.
Tom. That could be fixed right now. That could be fixed this summer.
That's why I'd sign all them things. And then if they don't, that's when we look at the ownership. That shows they're not serious.
So they can get fixed this summer, Tom. This summer.
So to turn Chelsea into a title winner, what you need is a world-class goalkeeper, minimum one, but more likely two. More likely two centre-backs. Minimum one, more likely two world-class wingers, one for either side, and a world-class number 9. That's going to be close to 300 million quid, and that is only going to work. That is only going to work.
World-class players to compete.
Because guess what? You need world-class players to win titles.
Yeah, but you're talking about world-class goalkeeper, world-class winger, world-class striker. So Chelsea have to have 9 world-class players.
I never said they have to have 9.
Someone let me ask you
need to have 9. No team has 9 world-class players, but what you cannot cheap out on the spine. No team ever wins the league with a shit goalie. No team ever wins the league with a centre-back partnership that isn't up to standard. No team ever wins the league without a real bagsman in their front line, which Chelsea do not have. Chelsea do not have this guy in their front line who will get them 20-plus goals, who will, in the big games, in the big moments, when he gets that half chance, turn up and bag it. To get all of this done is going to cost 300 million quid. And that only then, in the situation that it would turn them into title contenders, would be if Manchester City, Arsenal, and Liverpool all sat there and done fuck all. And instead of everyone going like that, they went like that.
Tom, you're assuming that every single player that we sign is the correct player, and they work 100%.
That very rarely happens.
Where's the proof that Gittins is going to work? Where's the proof that Gittins is going to work?
How many players do you think Chelsea need to sign
that isn't the point.
To be where Arsenal are? Let's all agree Arsenal are going to challenge next season, right?
No.
Okay, so how many players are Chelsea away from Arsenal?
Chelsea are not that far off from Arsenal. Like Chelsea are.
How many signings?
Chelsea are 2 big signings off from Arsenal. Not if you sign a Gittins, not if you sign Garnacho, then you're not going to be able
to. If they go out and sign Mike Maignan, or however you pronounce the goalkeeper, and they brought in a top-class centre-back, let's say, hypothetically, Chelsea went tomorrow and got Bastoni, is that enough to match Arsenal?
No, we need another striker. No. We need another striker as well.
Why do you think Chelsea are this close to Arsenal? Arsenal have just done 3 years.
How many points did Arsenal finish? above Chelsea this season.
This is what I mean. Points is such
Not
a
many.
weird metric.
Points is an arbitrary thing.
Of course, points is the metric. It's 38 games.
No, but Will, you are assuming that if Arsenal and Chelsea were both operating at the same level, therefore, the difference is 5 points. Therefore, because those two teams were operating at the same level, Chelsea are only so far behind Arsenal. That's not true. Because Arsenal have had season on season of performing to a very high level. So then for me to assume, and also bear in mind, you've been roasting my club about how bad we've been. Let's not forget that. Considering we went 12th, 8th, and now
I'm disappointed.
Well, hold on.
Don't forget, I was on this channel and I said that Chelsea should be finishing top 4, and they all laughed at me.
Cool. Anyway, but when we went 8th and then we went 4th, the point is that to assume that we are now going to suddenly make that same jump again and then go and compete for a title it's harder to do, because making bad teams good is not hard. Making good teams great is way harder. It's way harder. So, David,
isn't it easier though if you sign Williams instead of Garnacho, and if you sign Osimhen other than the lap? To the point that's been playing devil's advocate. I agree. I don't see how signing Gyokeres, I'm naming names. Williams, who is young but still had more experience than a Garnacho. The man's played in Euros finals as an example. I don't see why that messes up your strategy. You're just buying better versions of the players you're looking at.
Can I just say this?
My only thing is that if you're building a house and you start building it before you finish the foundation, the house is going to fall down. It won't stand up. That's the way I look at Chelsea right now. So we are not finished with this building stage that again the club needs.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm happy for you to buy Garnacho off me for 60 million. I'm not going to complain about that.
I disagree with signing Garnacho, and I agree that signing Nico Williams would improve Chelsea a lot more, 100%. But they are building something that if Nico Williams doesn't want to fall in line with, there's no point in signing Nico Williams, because it's going to affect everything else, and the house is going to fall down. That's my point with Nico Williams.
Dubes?
No, I'm just gonna say, like, to go mirror off of what Will's been saying, right? I think we're a goalkeeper, which could be Mike Maignan. I think we're a proper elite centre back away. We're a winger away, and we're another striker away. Whether that be a Sesko, whether that be a Gyokeres, away from competing. I think we are. Tom
no way.
Why, okay,
no
why
way.
Not?
So look at the teams that are above you. Look at the teams that are above you. Let's be serious now. Let's look at the teams that are above Chelsea. Man City had one problem this year. Their midfield had 0 legs. They got ran through in midfield. Everything else fell apart because their midfield was so easy to break through. So what have they done? Rodri's back from injury. They go and sign the best midfielder in Serie A. They had Ryan Cherky as well, who's one of the best creators. That problem solved, sorted, done. So you can expect Man City to return to the levels that they've been showing for years, which is minimum 85 points. Minimum. Arsenal, already a strong squad that was battered with injuries last year. Now they've added Zubimendi to further strengthen that midfield. They're linked heavily with a left winger, which is a key area of attack. They're linked heavily with a striker. That should put Arsenal, provided they don't have an injury crisis like they did this year, back to 85 to 90 points. Liverpool just won the title, are adding Florian Wirtz, Milos Kerkez, Jeremy Frimpong, linked with a striker, we're linked with a midfielder. All that should push Liverpool towards getting 85 to 90 points.
But
do I think the Chelsea squad, as it is, as their manager says, because this is the other thing, the manager himself doesn't want to put Chelsea in the title races at this point in time. So where's this sudden belief that Chelsea are ready for a title race going to come from? If they had
but based off your logic,
they're far away.
Because we finished top 4
of your logic.
Right,
but based off of Tom's logic, then Liverpool shouldn't have won the league last season, because you guys shouldn't have done as good as you did. Your squad wasn't. Nobody thought that Liverpool were going to win the league. What are we talking about? You didn't invest last summer.
Liverpool had a squad.
You brought in a squad. So things can happen. Like
Liverpool have a squad
an amazing
that could win league titles for 7 years.
Say it again.
Liverpool have had a squad
top underachieved. I agree.
Won league titles for 7 years.
No, but what I'm saying is, entering this season, a lot of people looked at Liverpool as a disappointment based off of what they did last summer window. You bought nobody but Chiesa after you brought in a new manager. He wasn't back. A lot of people were not high on what Liverpool had going on. So based off your logic, right, you guys shouldn't have been where you currently are right now. What I'm saying is that Chelsea have a very good squad. If they went away from looking at these unproven players, and if they said, yo, we made Champions League, let's go bring in a Rodrigo. Let's try and sign a Victor Gyokeres, right? Let's say you get those 2 signings done. Chelsea could very much, I'm not saying they can win it, but what I'm saying is that they can be in the race. I think that you're thinking that.
I'm not saying we're going to win it either.
Because this is the point you're missing. Chelsea get Gyokeres. I'm going to give you Chelsea get Gyokeres and they get Magnon. Chelsea go from there to there. So if everyone else in the Premier League decide to sit on their arse and do fuck all, Chelsea close the gap. But Arsenal are making big signings, so Arsenal are going there. City are addressing their problems, so City are going from there to there. Liverpool are adding pieces, so Liverpool go from there to there. It's not like the bar is there. And
hang on a minute.
The bar's constantly rising.
Dudes, I'm going to come to you next, I promise. But based on what you just said there, though, Tom, is illogical. Let's say there's that gap between those teams now. If those teams are making those massive jumps, if Chelsea don't look to make a massive jump as well, they'll be further behind with the signings they're looking to make, by your logic.
That wasn't what I was saying. What I'm saying is Chelsea.
That's what you said.
It's not because I'm saying Chelsea aren't going to close the gap. 1 or 2 signings at this point doesn't close the gap. It doesn't.
I agree with that.
Because other teams are still improving.
So don't sign better players because you won't bridge the gap straight away.
No. What I'm saying is Chelsea are clearly 100% behind this project. There is no point in throwing away this project for a quick year of a splurge when it's not going to close the gap enough.
But who would they be throwing it away on? Who would they be throwing it away on?
So we're going for a Gyokeres who's clearly not in their
Why
plans.
Would Gyokeres why would Gyokeres ruin the project at Chelsea?
Because if he demands 300k a week,
he's
then
not in
Cole Palmer's going to want 300k a week, and then Caicedo's going to want 300k a week, and then every single player who's like Reece James is going to want 300k a week. And suddenly
players who perform at high levels want more money.
Hold on.
The way the lap gets that level in 2 or 3 years.
No. My point is that if they don't fit within what we're trying to do, then right now they can't be signed. I'm saying that there is a moment when I think these Chelsea owners are going to go, this is when we're going to start. This is the moment when we go for it. And when they go for it, that's when I think you're going to see the biggest signings. But I don't think that time is now.
David.
I don't think that time is now.
On and off when they won.
No, but it's...
No.
But then, David, we'll be saying this next summer as well. Then the summer after that.
Yeah, I've already said.
They're still doing the project.
I've already said that I think that the time when I think Chelsea are going to move on from this part of the process is going to be after this season. I think this season is the last season where I think Chelsea go, we're going to stick with the youngsters. Then I think they're going to focus more on the first team. But then when I think they're focusing on the first team, we're still going to have the signings of these players just to a lesser degree.
All right, David, can I ask you then? So if not next season, but the season after, if we're not competing and we're struggling to get top 4, are you going to put pressure on the owners then?
Again, depends what happens.
No. Yes,
because, no. It depends. No, it depends. It depends what happens. Because again, as you were saying earlier, if we won a Champions League, it doesn't matter. We won the Champions League. We deserved it.
Yes, because it's a trophy. That's the aim of the game, and it's the biggest trophy.
Yes, no. So this is my point. Again, the parameters of what you're asking for is very different. I have to believe that the squad has progressed in order for me to be happy with Maresca. So we could finish 5th, be 6 points of winning the title, but we'd be in a lower position than we were last year, and I can still believe we progressed. I'm not saying that is going to happen or it's likely, but this is my point. My point is that there's so many parameters that go into a season that affect how I will think of what's going on. I said this season that we had progressed, and people were saying, no, you haven't. Look at the points that you're going to get. You can look at this, look at that. And then ultimately you ended up in 4th and we won a trophy. So Dubes, you literally in this season said, I don't believe in Maresca, full stop. And then we got top 4 and we got
and I said, this
is that you wanted.
Yeah, no, and I said, this is my stance. I said, fair play to Maresca. He's got us what we expected. He got us top 4 and he got us the trophy. So I said, fair play. I'm going to give him next season. My thing is, this is my thing with Enzo Maresca, right? I want to see how the board address this window. Fair play if you want to say the window hasn't started yet. Fair play, you've got the whole summer. If they back him properly, they get him the main man, they get him a striker, they get him a winger, they maybe even get him a centre back. At that point, I'm sitting there going, if Maresca doesn't deliver, then my energy's on you. You're not good enough. You need to go. So if we're struggling to get top 4 again, I don't think you're good enough. However, if he doesn't back Maresca and he only signs 2 players, and he's not backing him with the elite signings, at that point I'm going to be like, you know what, Maresca, my energy isn't on you. It's on the owners again because you've been set up to fail. That's my thing with the whole Chelsea project. I don't personally believe in this whole project because it's been 3 years now, and we haven't even come close to challenging it for the league, as you say. And
I think that I know we've got to move on, but the point is that Chelsea, Clear Lake had to blow up effectively what we had before because that was just a mess. The whole thing was a mess. Yes, I know we won the Champions League, we were champions of the world, blah blah blah. The whole thing was a mess. We were never going to win the league title, so they had to effectively blow that up and restart it from scratch. So I am okay with them having this grace period of not competing straight away. Why? Because how many times do people take over teams and then they win a league title within 2 years? Very rare. Even the most recent example is Man City, and Man City got taken over in 2008 and won their first league title in 2014 or 2013 or
2012.
So right. So they had 4 years. They had 4 years. So they had 4 years of doing it.
That was also pre-spending limits.
Mm-hmm.
If City had the spending limits that Newcastle have now, they wouldn't have gone from 2009-2012 winning the league.
They wouldn't have been able to build that.
Terry, my point is that to expect Chelsea to be winning leagues in 4 seasons, in my opinion, isn't a true representation of what modern day football actually is.
I hear that.
That's where I sit. So.
Let's go to some of these super chats here. Jiggy here says, we're focusing on players that we can get in before the Club World Cup. How about we wait to see if Chelsea make better signings? All I would say to that, Jiggy Introvert, is this. I agree to an extent, but if the sources and stories are true, if you end up dropping 60 million on Gittins, if you end up dropping 50 million pound on Garnacho, is there space in the squad to then go and get Nico Williams after the Club World Cup? The answer is no, because you've just gone and dropped big money on another young player. There is for another number 9. There's no doubt about it, and other positions. But I think you also have to look at the squad being filled up at that point. Tony here says, Garnacho isn't as bad as people think he is. He's playing for a dysfunctional United side. The main issue with him is his attitude and his brother. Look, I don't think I agree with you. I don't think he's as bad a player as people make out. He just doesn't fit or suit what Man United are trying to build. I think he'd be a good signing for Chelsea. I said it this morning. I'll say it again. I'm just not sure if he's going to bridge that gap enough between them and Liverpool, which has got to be the aim to close that gap. And I think there are better options out there than Garnacho that could potentially do that for Chelsea. I think Arsenal fans were the most biased and deluded, but now looking at Don and David back in Maresca and Chelsea's board, I actually think Henry is better. This here says, what are the chances of Chelsea in the Club World Cup if Maignan comes in?
I still don't think we win it. I still don't think we win it regardless.
I'm not moved by Maignan the same way a lot of other people are. He's an improvement on Robert Sanchez. It's not hard to be an improvement on Robert Sanchez.
You're not going to duck the allegations, bro, but that coming out with that.
Oh, where's Kunle when you need them? Where's Kunle when you need them? He's just never... He's injury prone, which is a weird one for a goalie. And he's got 1 or 2 clangers in him. He's better than Sanchez, because again, it's not hard to be worse, but I don't think he's this wonderful... faultless goalkeeper that Chelsea can build a solid defense on.
We're not signing the best in class goalkeeper beside sign Mike Maignan. We're just not.
Yeah,
but again, massive improvement on Robert Sanchez.
Yeah. You've got 2 like D tier keepers. You've got 2 D tier keepers and you've signed a B tier keeper. You've not signed the A tier, but you signed a B tier keeper.
This is Tom. You are the one who said that Chelsea won't be in the Champions League anytime soon. How can you tell Chelsea fans not to say Chelsea would not compete for the Premier League and UCL in the Champions League? Anything can happen because of heritage.
Never said they couldn't compete for the Champions League. I said they won't win a Premier League next season or anytime soon because a league requires consistency and quality over 38 games, which Chelsea do not have. And Chelsea's manager himself does not want to have standards for. He doesn't. Maresca does not want Chelsea to think that they're title winners yet.
Well, the fans
or
don't
title
either.
contenders yet.
I mean, like,
because he said so last season.
Well, most of the fans don't believe in the manager or the squad anyway. So to expect a league title is quite literally illogical. But
I don't think there's anything wrong with.
Oh, your mic's gone again, bro.
Like nothing, yeah. Like my mic is having a stinker today, but like nothing in life is guaranteed. But I don't think there's anything wrong with saying if we act serious this summer, we can compete next season. That's all.
Yeah,
I hear that.
Obviously, the team needs a lot of work. I think we're 4 signings away from competing. I don't think we're going to get all them 4 signings. So
you're 4 signings away from competing if no one else improves. I agree on that.
Nasir here says, David, according to Will, we should go to Barca for Yamal. Why don't we go for him? Gittins is Doué. Barcola is and Barcola a year ago when they tried to sign them. Look at them now. Back then, it was the same logic.
Okay.
Yeah. I quite like Gittins. I've watched quite a lot of them. I think for what Maresca wants in the system, I think he'd suit us very well. So I hope we do get him.
Tom is such a clown the whole season. He said Chelsea's players are rubbish and will finish 7th to 8th, and that Batiste would win the Conference League. Now he's changing the narrative. Get in is what you've been done there.
Well, welcome to In the Moment agendas. I don't want Chelsea doing well. I don't want Chelsea. If you're asking me a prediction, I'm never going to predict Chelsea winning. I was asked who do I think will finish 8th, and I got to say I wish Chelsea finish 8th. It's not my fault. Nottingham Forest shit the bed and Villa shit the bed.
Have you seen what Nottingham Forest have done today, by the way?
Yeah, they wrote a letter, haven't they?
So, do you know what I love about this, right? This is, when you get all those amoebas and those lame brains that go, the Red Cartel, Liverpool and United, and Chelsea are involved. They're all together and they control the league. And all the clubs that you get Forest fans that will join forces with all the fans of the smaller clubs and go, oh yeah, we hate the big boys. There they are trying to screw each other over. Like I've said all along, clubs do what's best for them and them alone. None of these. They've basically written to UEFA and basically said, you definitely should ban them from competing. They've basically said that. Do you know what I mean?
They've definitely broke the multi-club rules, so they definitely shouldn't be allowed to compete and we should take their spots, is what they've said.
Let Palace in, man. Free Palace, bro. Free Palace.
Yeah, no, it's it's equally though, if they're fucked up and not follow procedure, like there's such an irony and funny. There's something about that. Imagine your first ever trophy, first ever time in Europe, and you get banned. That would be a madness. That'd be a madness. Garnacho is more impactful and complete player than Gittins, proven Prem player, and still has room to grow at just 20. Chelsea's future looks good. Fully agree with David. We are seeing progress, so why risk it going bust long term for some short term success due to some silly fans' impatience? Do you know what I think, though? There is a difference here. I don't think anyone on this panel has suggested that Chelsea should spend 500 million pound breaking Mbappe's release clause and paying him £1 million a week to come play for you. I think it's about going that there are available players in the market, maybe a level above the Gittins and the Garnachos, and maybe that's where they should be aiming, so that you are still in your project, but you're just signing. I think there's a happy medium in this whole conversation of like, can you get better than Gittins? Yes, and still stay within your budgets and your process. Yes. Those two things do exist in reality, but we will see. Tom, you won the league with world-class Darwin Núñez and world-class Luis Diaz, is what Akil says here.
You're on mute, Tom.
You're on mute now.
I won the league because Mohamed Salah put together one of the greatest individual campaigns from a numbers point of view anyone's ever put up, and Luis Diaz did put up close to world-class numbers, getting like 21 GA. So I didn't say you need a world-class striker. I said you need a world-class forward. Liverpool had one this year in Mohamed Salah.
Semantics, but yeah.
Is 21 GA world class?
Considering the state of the left wingers in this Premier League, yes.
It is getting
there. Tom, we don't need world-class players in every position. If the system is right and the players are right for the system and also work perfectly with the manager, it will be good.
You don't need world-class in every position, I agree. but you can't afford to cheap out in certain positions. You are not going to win the league if you don't have a world-class goalie, and you're not going to win the league if you don't have at least one world-class centre-back.
There is no way David is a Chelsea fan. We don't do projects or phases, man. We are not Arsenal.
Can I respond to that super chat?
Mm-hmm.
First half, I disagree with. David is a Chelsea fan. He just has a different opinion, but he is a Chelsea fan. I don't agree when people say stuff like that. The second part, I do agree with. We don't do projects or phases. We are not Arsenal. You win or fuck off. Yeah, but no, that's just what I wanted to say. If you know, you know.
I just clicked on the link you just sent through about Gyokeres, and my heart nearly stopped. Will, I just clicked on it. Oh, it reads. It's really nice, mate. Honestly, it gave me a bit of a semi. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh my god, I went a bit lightheaded. All the blood rush somewhere else. We'll go to that in a minute.
You thought that it was the here we go.
So that it's a good update, but I was like, hang on, because someone I clicked on it. It's from Richo. Clicked on the link. I saw him, started reading it, and it was like, oh, then it flops at the end. But yeah, David's definitely a Chelsea fan. I'm gonna quote David. He's just more educated than most. What he says is so funny. It actually is true. A man went Hogwarts, bruv. They've already spent 1 billion. What's another 500 million is what Wayne says here. Zane says Chelsea got Champions League football after 2 years, and they are close to challenging with just 3 signings. Then if United get top 4 this season and get 4 good signings next season, then will they challenge the following season? It's hard to always know. Like, you've got to, like Zane, it's football doesn't work in that way. You know, United could get a lot better. We could go and get Gyokeres, all these players, etc. But if everybody else improves, there's only a certain limit that our improvement will get us to. And that's why sometimes when it comes to your own improvement, you do have to just keep yourselves a little bit, keep things internal, and you don't need to always compare yourself against others in the shorter term or when doing that. But yes, a trophy in a competition that you didn't belong is what Bermuda Guna says.
Yeah, it's still a trophy.
How many free hotel breakfasts do you get, David? How many times do you go up and get food?
I'd say I normally get 3 servings, 4 servings. You gotta get omelets, loads of eggs, mate. Loads of eggs. Question. Not
a food question. When you're in hotels, not on like a summer holiday somewhere, you know, you're staying in a hotel for work or with friends, whatever. When you go to the restaurant in the morning for breakfast, how many of you wear flip-flops downstairs into the restaurant?
Flip-flops? I mean, of course.
Sliders. I wear sliders.
Never.
With or without socks?
With socks. Can't have your feet out with food around.
Yeah.
No, I'm just checking.
Hold on, wait. So if you're at like a all-inclusive resort and like the
no, not a resort or a summer holiday. That's cool. I get that. I'm talking
like a city break.
Yeah, like a city break.
You're in Premier Inn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was in a hotel recently, and so many people had their toes out for breakfast. And it wasn't even a hot day. It's in the middle of Manchester, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you cretins doing with your toes out in this restaurant, man?" I was so offended. I got all my food on my plate. I took it to my room. I was like, "Fuck this! I can't look at bare hairy toes while I'm trying to eat my sausages, man." Anyway, I digress massively. Will, do you think you're going to hijack Zubimendi to Arsenal?
I hope not. Please get this deal done, Arsenal. Oh my days. I think that'd be a complete waste of money. He's not better than Tchouaméni. He's not better than Camavinga, and he's not the profile of midfielder that we need. We need like a Toni Kroos kind of profile. And I know that he's like a legend. There's not that many players there's no players that's on that level. But in terms of like that deep lying playmaker, that's the kind of midfielder that we need. Not 60 million for Zubimendi, who doesn't really give me anything different than what I already have. So I hope that the reports are false. But I know that Xabi Alonso, he was at Sociedad for a little bit. He knows the player. So I definitely do believe that there are links there. I just don't think that he's needed. So yeah, I hope that Arsenal get the deal done. Do not want Zubimendi. He's a decent player though, but he's just not better than what we have. So yeah.
Do you not think for squad depth though, like Danny Ceballos, isn't he like past it?
No. But the thing is though, Henry, 60 million for a backup midfielder. I still need a left back.
If you're Real Madrid.
Yeah, but like the thing is, bro, we don't operate like that anymore. Like we're not just trying to just throw money around. So if we go and drop 60 million on Zubimendi, he's coming to start. So that means that we're gonna probably sell one of Tchouameni or Camavinga. Again, both who I think are better than him.
Yeah, but both are more versatile than Camavinga can play left back, Tchouameni can play centre back. Zubimendi can't do that. So if you're going to buy him, I think you're right. He's going to start.
Aren't you getting a left back anyway in that Benfica fella? Your mic's gone again.
No, we'll need to do that.
This is some really insightful stuff that we can't hear because the mic's gone again.
Yeah, so we're trying to get Alvaro Correas, but we can't get him before the Club World Cup now because Benfica have registered him for the Club World Cup, so he can't move now. So who knows? But
you've also lost Modric though as well. Like your midfield's not as stacked as like
the midfield's very stacked. It's very stacked. Like we don't need
from a central midfield perspective.
Yes, we have multiple players that can be in that position.
If
Again,
you've got
I need a left back.
Camavinga, Valverde, Bellingham,
But Valverde
Ceballos,
plays
all right
everywhere.
for now.
He plays. If they get an injury, he's like the go-to.
Yes, but they've now bought the position that he was covering for. So because they've got the rats, they don't need to play him at right back, so they can play him in midfield again.
Respect my right back, Tom. By the way,
mate, I will be there. I will be there for that first El Clasico. By the way,
no.
I will be
there for the presentation on Thursday. I expect the reaction stream.
Be there. Watching him try and do keep you up, That'd be brilliant.
No. But in terms of Zubimendi, though, like we don't need him. Again, I need a left back. I'd rather go get another Joselu profile off the bench, right? Like a tall aerial threat. Because all of our attackers, except for Jude, are short. And Jude's not good with headers either. So you need somebody that can take advantage of what Trent's going to now add to our team. But Zubimendi, it's a waste of money. Like it's just the club just being like weird.
If you want a left back, what I can't get my head around Real Madrid and get Hernandez back. Like 20 million euros. Like
yeah, but he's washed. And when he was at the club, like his attitude, like he's just like a weird guy.
That's only space. I mean,
that's Real Madrid. You've all got attitudes.
Yeah, you hear that about hundreds of players.
No. But like that's such. It's like a lazy like media like narrative, bro. Like there's no bad attitudes in the squad. Like everybody acts like, oh, well, you have Mbappe, he's a bad attitude. You have Vinny, he's a bad attitude. What makes you think that? Like there's been no issues in our squad with the personnel. So like, where are these bad attitudes that people are talking about?
Bro, none of you showed up to awards nights. You didn't win. That's terrible.
But you threw your toys out the pram because Vinicius rightfully didn't win a Ballon d'Or.
All right, but then like, who do you think makes that call? The players or Perez?
Perez.
Nothing happens at Real Madrid without the president.
Yeah, that mentality.
That's not the players.
Then that seeps down from the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Same with Daniel Levy, but that's why. I think.
All right, let's not go comparing Real Madrid to Tottenham right now.
No, I'm comparing the mentality difference is if Tottenham's mentality will never be like Real Madrid's because of Daniel Levy, whereas Real Madrid Perez, his elite mentality breeds onto the pitch, which is why the fan base hold the club to account.
I was gonna say, I think even in your fans, you've all got an attitude that like literally like
not you personally, Will, but a lot of Madrid fans.
but I'm just saying, like, I don't think you can escape having an attitude if you're at Real Madrid. I think you've all got it.
I mean, I get it. I just think that the media like narratives, it's just like we're like these big bad villains just because of how we operate. But I think it's just a little bit of jealousy.
You're not exactly the plucky heroes, I'll tell you that.
It's just a bit of jealousy. Like that's just it. You know, like their clubs aren't run as good as they should be, and we take advantage of it.
I think it's that. I think there's an element of jealousy there, but you've also got to factor in that there are rules in your league that enable you to be who you are that other clubs and other countries don't have. For instance,
also,
well, because you and Barcelona get the lion's share of the TV money, because you get the majority of the views, that doesn't happen. No, I get that, but you're not trying to listen here. That's fair that you guys have got that. The point I'm making is that in England, Man United and Liverpool tried for years in campaigns and said, hang on, like 70% of all views, this was around 10 to 15 years ago, 70% of all views of Premier League football matches involve our teams. We should get the majority of the money like Madrid and Barca do. But no, it was distributed equally. So there is this element of, yes, you're well run, but let's just change the world for a moment. You'll run as well as you are, but but suddenly now all the money in Spain is divided equally amongst the 20 teams. The landscape for your football club would change because you wouldn't have the financial monopoly over your counterparts in your league. So it's one of those things where it's not as simple as saying, well, just run yourself like you're Real Madrid. It's hard to do that if you're not in a nation where there's a monopoly. Bayern Munich or another club, the way the football structure and pyramid works in Germany, you can't get a Man City or a Newcastle upstart. You've got it a little bit with Leipzig, but there's a genuine agenda from the whole country against them. Like Newcastle and City think there's an agenda against them. Try doing what you're doing in fucking Germany and see how you get treated by every single person. You look. So I do think as well, you know, it's like saying the example would be this. It's like turning around to the other French teams and going, don't be jealous of PSG, just act like them. Unless you have
but I
their
never
own
said to operate like Real Madrid. I'm just saying, just operate a little bit better. Show some more ambition.
The thing is, I can follow. You know that dude, that Ashton Hall? He's obviously rich. I don't know why he's rich, but I can do his morning routine that isn't going to make me live in that house and have that lifestyle. He is rich not because he sleeps with duct tape over his mouth and rubs banana like skin over his skin. That isn't why he's rich. He can do those funny things because he's in that position to do it. So
but Terry,
you can't turn around to Leon and say, run yourselves better, you'll catch PSG. They can't catch PSG without PSG's owners.
No, I'm saying like the media narrative that Madrid are like these villains that just come in and that they just disrupt what other clubs have going on. I'm saying if you were run better, then we couldn't do that. I'm not saying
that's not true. That's not true. That isn't true.
But it is true. For example, look at Tom's club. If you force Trent out instead of letting him drag you along,
so again, in that specific example, like that. Hang on a minute. In that specific example, Liverpool should have sold him 2 years ago. I agree, but Liverpool also a massive club run by billionaires. There's comparativeness. I'm talking about the wider view of if you want to be like Madrid, just run yourselves better. You can level
Where's
that
coming from though, Terry.
You can level that at a City. You can level it at Liverpool. You can level it at Manchester United because of our size. I'm just talking unilaterally. There's fans of much smaller clubs than Liverpool that don't like Real Madrid, think that their fans are entitled. Their club could be run the best in the world. They don't have the money to be you. And I think it's that monolithic approach of all clubs. If they just run better, they'll all succeed to the highest level. It's not necessarily true. Money plays a big part in that. So I get your point on Liverpool. I agree with it. What is this? Okay, he's rich because he was a former NFL player. Well, there we go. Yeah. Was he not? Okay. Well, I don't know why he's rich. But the point I'm saying is that we can't all just do, Joe Rogan's right when he says this. You get the whole, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, what about people that don't have fucking boots or straps? Like, at the end of the day, it's not as simple as just pull yourself up. But you're not all rich like Henry. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't have a job and gets to travel around Europe because he's got a rich fiance. Do you know what I'm saying? It ain't, I don't know if that's true. I just made it up, but there we go. But yes, let's go to some of these super chats that have come in here. They didn't show up because UEFA told Real Madrid that Vinny won. Well, UEFA have no idea who's won the Ballon d'Or. It's FIFA, isn't it? And City called and said Rodri won. It was disrespectful.
That's like me being angry that I didn't win the lottery because someone random has called me up and said you've won the lottery, and then I ring them up and they go, "No, you haven't." What?
Tony here on Zubimendi says isn't Zubimendi exactly what you've described?
No, because Zubimendi's passing range isn't that good. Like, he's more of a short-term or like short-range passer. Like, we need somebody that can unlock a defense, Angelo Stiller or like Enzo Fernandez, somebody that has like that kind of like deep-lying playmaking ability.
That at right back though.
Well, I mean, but you could say that, but at the same time, if the club still want a midfield profile, then you might as well get one that we're missing.
Will, if you want to make the most out of the brat, you're going to have to put him in positions where Toni Kroos would be picking up so you can make most use of his passing range.
So I should be playing Trent in midfield?
No, you push him in midfield when you got the ball type thing, that fucking inverted fullback thing. That's where he's going to have to go. Yeah. Because he no longer runs down line and crosses. So he's going to be going in there to use his long-range passing. What you need alongside him is someone to be the short-range passer to alleviate the pressure that he can't do.
So that Zubimendi and Camavinga can do that job. Then I don't need to spend 60 million on Zubimendi. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe they can do. I'm just saying that's how you need to play him.
No. And I'm not disagreeing with you. Like, the point of me saying that I don't want a Zubimendi is saying if it's not a specific profile of midfielder, then I might as well just not get a midfielder. I don't want to just go buy him.
Someone just sent me a DM though with a link to an update on this regarding Arsenal, and it says that all relevant paperwork has been exchanged between Zubimendi, Arsenal, and Sociedad. It says this includes a very sensitive legal binding agreement, which is a standard occupational practice. He says there is I've never heard this word before, but tripartite, which means 3 different entities in an agreement. What a great word. Agreement between Arsenal, Sociedad, and Zubimendi. Once the Spaniard completes his medical, he will be unvowed. So that's an update from the hand of Arsenal.
But the one thing though, Terry, Zubimendi did an interview last week with some journalist while he was on his international duty, and he said that he doesn't know what's going to happen in his future. I just find this situation very weird for something that's supposedly done. Because then why is he talking like that? It is like why why answer it that way?
Because he's still officially a Sociedad player, and until they get to that stage, he's just speaking that way. But I do get you. But what's really interesting, this does fall through for Arsenal. The amount of Arsenal in the nose, the amount of top journalists that are just literally not like there's not been all the news today out of Spain that there's been a phone call and the mood has changed. There hasn't been a single top tier journalist who isn't connected to Madrid who has spoke about this. There's something in a bit like the story about Man United paying Mbeumo like 4.5 billion a week. It's only come from journalists in Newcastle. It's literally come from nowhere else. I always find that a little fishy, if that makes sense. But that's just, you know what I mean? That's just if Arsenal signs Semenyo tomorrow, and then it's just Tottenham journalists that say, yes, because Arsenal are paying him off for $500,000 a week, you kind of know there's a bit of Billy bullshit in there. Do you know what I mean? For me personally. And by the way, I didn't realize UEFA were involved in that, but thank you. My apologies. To the panel, am I wrong saying that the only player in the Premier League... Sorry. Am I wrong saying that the only player in the Premier League is Rodri because of all the trophies that he has won for his club and national team? Oh, world-class player. The word world-class is being used too much. It's not that you're right or wrong vibes. It's not that you're right or wrong. It's because you could ask 100 people their definition and get 100 different answers. There is no set definition for what world class means. So therefore, it's an exceedingly subjective. Some people say top 3 in the world in any position. I'm like, well, why limit it to 3? Because you could have 5 players that are all as good as each other. Someone else will just say that's the best player in their position. But what if the best player in the position today isn't even as good as 5 players from 10 years ago in that position? There has to be this, as you say, it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about your definition, I suppose. On the Arsenal situation, there has been an update from Fabrizio, which I think I want to delve into because it's a wider piece, including Arsenal. It says that Sesko is advancing to Arsenal. He says that Man United keep calling on a daily basis for Victor Gyokeres, still on their list. Juve and Al Hilal have also called in the last 48 hours to be informed of the situation after Arsenal's, of course, had contact since May. So it does now turn out all those stories about Arsenal pursuing Gyokeres, the conversations, etc., were true, but they're advancing with Sesko. United are in a good position to get Gyokeres. There are now more teams in for him, so we can stop the whole bullshit of why is no one else interested in Gyokeres. How do you see this one going? It really looks like Arsenal are going to push on with Sesko. Where's Gyokeres going to end up? Let me throw it out to the panel. I'll go to David first on this.
I think he's going to go to Man United just because they're going to be the only team that put up the money where he'll actually go to. He won't go to Al Hilal because he doesn't want to go and play there. I could see Juve, but I just don't see him putting up all the money. I think Man United are the only club that will put up the money. And also you have the Amorim factor of him being his old manager and actually knowing how to use him. So I think United is where he's going to end up.
Yeah,
I think Juve only sign him if they sell Vlahovic and raise the money that way. But I agree with David. I think it'll be at United. And if United have Mbeumo, Gyokeres, Ahmad, Bruno, there's some serious quality there. Only playing 1 game a week, the pre-season under Ruben, which I think a lot of people. I think he's going to do. I think United are going to be. I'm not saying they're going to be top 4 or anything like that, but I think they're going to surprise a lot of people next season. 1 game a week, everyone else is playing 2 or 3. With a potential front 3 of with Cunha and Mbeumo and Gyokeres.
I think I'll put more pressure on Amorim, if I'm honest.
Yeah, but I agree. If he doesn't, he'll be out the door.
I mean, but there's already a lot of pressure on Amorim, regardless. Like Amorim needs to start next season off very well.
Even more like from like 70% pressure to 90% pressure, that kind of thing.
Well, the question I'm
But you don't think after losing to Tottenham in that Europa League final, I feel like if Amorim's still struggling in the first 10 games, regardless of who else Man United signed, I think he's gone. I feel like if he would have won that Europa League, that would have bought him a lot of time. But the fact that, it was a really bad season, he was not doing that well, and then you lose that Europa League, I don't think I don't feel like there could be any more pressure on him. Like, I think he's on the hottest seat.
Terry, with United potentially signing Gyokeres, do you, like, as a United fan, how do you think Ruben's going to get all of these players into his system? Like, do you think Ahmad plays as a wing back in this? Like, does Bruno stay in central midfield?
I think there's multiple adaptations. I think it also depends on who else we sign, because we are looking at other midfield players as well. It depends on how the likes of Ugarte and Mainu perform in pre-season. There's a lot of our players that they're taking holidays, but they're working hard on improving fitness levels because we just lacked it last year. But I think it's about versatility. And I know that we live in a world now where everybody screams and cries about specialists, but you need versatility. So there'll be some games where Bruno will play deep. There'll be some where he goes into the 10 role. There'll be some games where we use Ahmad as a wing back. There'll be some games where he sits in the 10 role. What's really important for us, and I know we haven't got European football, but look what happened to us in January when Ahmad got injured. We shit our pants because there was nobody else at the club. So for me, I am not one of these weird freaks that watch football and gets upset or annoyed that their favorite player might not have a pathway into the first team. I don't care. I just want the football team to improve. I couldn't care less who's on the bench. I want the right players to start, but if Bruno and Ahmad by Christmas cannot get into this team, but we are improving exponentially week on week, I'm not going to cry about it. I want us to improve. So I love these links. I'm loving hearing this news that Arsenal's board have approved the move for Sesko and they're going to push on with it. I think it's a good signing for them, but I want as many teams away from Gyokeres as possible. I think he's absolutely world class. And if we are able to pull him off, if we are able to pull it off and bring him into Manchester United, you are talking about someone that can score 20 to 25 league goals for us minimum in a season. And yeah, I'm very, very excited, especially with Mbeumo and Cunha behind him.
I don't think Mbeumo is going to Man United is a dead cert. If you're signing Gyokeres, you've already got Cunha, Ahmad, Bruno, all these players that are versatile. The fact that you aren't in Europe, I just think, is there already too much quality there?
No.
I mean, Newcastle
you're also forgetting one thing as well. The football teams can make 5 subs in a game now. So these guys are all going to get game time. There's enough matches for them. We're also going to have pressure on us to go and try and win those cup competitions. So unlike some of you, when you get your third round, actually we'll be in the second round of the League Cup this year, but when you guys are in your third round of the League Cups, your early FA Cup games, unless you're playing one of the big boys, you lot are going to rotate a lot. Man United won't. Man United will go and try and win every competition, strongest team in every single game. So I think there'll be enough game time, because that's also a way of relieving pressure. Because if we do start to get better next season, which is the hope, if we're going all in every League Cup game, we've got a good chance of winning it. How do I know that? This team, for all its faults, has done well in cups in the last 3 to 4 years. So adding more quality to it, I'm not going to sit there and suddenly pretend it wouldn't give us a chance of winning that. And I also think players can look beyond the end of their nose. And if they're bought into Ruben, if they're bought into what we're trying to develop, they're not just going to go, well, yeah, year one, though, I might get 10 less games than I would if you were in Europe. They might play the slightly longer game with it as an example. But I do think Mbeumo is... I don't think if we get Gyokeres, it will stop Mbeumo. I think it's about all three. And then I think if we get Gyokeres, then I think after that, it will then be focusing on goalkeepers. And the big report that's just come out from the same source as the Garnacho one, he said that if United can find someone to take Onana, it's likely to be Emi Martinez that we put in goal as well.
I think that's a fantastic signing for you.
Yeah.
Signing as well.
Again, better than Onana, but he's not great. He really is not. He'll win penalty
I
shootouts.
rate Martinez. I think
he'll win you penalty shootouts in those cup competitions when you get them. He will, but he's not a good goalkeeper. Nah,
he's not a good goalkeeper.
I don't think so.
He's not the best goalkeeper in the world. Like he's not like in the top. He's not in the top. As you say, definitely an upgrade on Onana, and I think he'd help them.
It's another Robert Sanchez to Magnan. You can do a lot better than Onana, but I don't think Martinez is a guy you put in goal to win you a league title or win you a Champions League.
He's a B. He's a B plus B level player. Fine.
Oh wait, as I say, I don't think he's not the best goalkeeper in the world, but I think he's definitely a big upgrade. Again, that's not hard. I know it's not hard, but still, I think it'd be a good signing for United. Because you got to remember what other goalkeepers are actually out there.
Not only that, what other goalkeeper wants to go to Manchester United right now?
It's Diogo Costa. There's Maignan, who looks like he's on his way to Chelsea. Apparently, you put another.
Yeah, I don't think Costa is. I think the likes of Costas and Martinez are in that same bracket. I think they're very good goalkeepers. I'm not sure if I'd call them world class. Equally though, if you boys have seen what I've had in goal for the last 2 years, honestly, like
I know what you mean, Terry. Trust me.
No, exactly. I think it's one of those things for me. And I do agree that he could be a goalkeeper that comes in for 2 or 3 years as we're building, and then we look to replace him in the future, because there's talk that he might, because we've all got to remember Villa are fucked financially. They gambled so much last year. That you ever seen The Sopranos? That guy he actually played one of the Terminators in Terminator 2. You ever seen the episodes where he owes all the money to the Sopranos and they end up like running his sports shop into the ground? That's basically Villa. They've gambled everything, and now they've got no money. Do you know what I mean? They've got nothing left. So there's rumors we could pick him up for £20 million, 25 million. So for me, short term, that's an absolute, as you say, is a steal. Will, do you think Arsenal were doing the right thing advancing on Sesko, or do you think they should have kept on going for Gyokeres?
I think like Victor would have probably been the better signing, but I actually don't think Sesko is going to be that bad of a signing for Arsenal. I think he has like all the tools to be a very good striker in the league. He's an aerial threat as well. Arsenal like to whip crosses in. I think he'll do a good job for them. It's just, is he the striker that's going to get you over the line? Because that's where it's at with Arsenal. It's like, it's no longer a project. It's no longer a rebuild. You have to win. And Sesko just seems like more of a project. That's the reason that I think Arsenal fans shouldn't be too excited about it. You should be getting a more proven player that you have more confidence in that will help you get over the line. But I don't think Sesko is going to be like as bad as everybody's trying to make out. Like he's trash and he's going to be like another, I don't know, like a Darwin Núñez, or he's just a pace merchant or something. I think he'll be solid. But I don't know if he's going to be enough for them to win the league, which is the main issue here.
I think there's
3 or 4 years he'll be the best striker out of the group that are currently being signed now. However, Arsenal don't need that. They need to win tomorrow. So, and this is where, and again, not to bring it back to Chelsea, but like signing players at the right point is so important in football. So if you end up with a mismatch of, we've got this win now player here and we've got this project player there, but you're in win now, the project player's kind of use is negated in some sense, and you're buying him for a different kind of thing, and it doesn't really make sense. You've got to line up your squad with how you think your football club is actually going to perform.
Okay. No. To be fair, that when you say it like that, I kind of hear. I'm not saying I'm fully on board with it, but I kind of hear what you have to say. But we're not talking about Chelsea right now. Yeah. But with Arsenal, I think Sesko, they need a striker. Like it's so obvious they need a striker, and I think Sesko will help them. Again, similar to Martinez to United, is he the best option they could go for? No, I personally think Gyokeres would have been a better suit for them. But again, that's not to say Sesko is a bad player, because he's not. I think he's going to help them, because that's like the missing piece for me for Arsenal. I think they've got everything else. Maybe they could sign a left winger as well, maybe a replacement to Bukayo Saka. But once they get that piece up front, I think they'll be a threat. I really think they will.
I don't think I need to repeat my thoughts on Benjamin Sesko. I've said it the same for the past 3 weeks.
You said a lot. It's a real interesting one. Look, I agree with Rob here. I would rather Gyokeres now over Sesko. The interesting thing is, and this is where sometimes I'll be accused of defending Arsenal, but I'm trying to play devil's advocate. they could bring in Gyokeres and not win the league still. Is that plausible?
Mm-hmm.
They could bring him in, Cherky kills it, Verts kill it, and that's your top 2 next year. And that could happen for another couple of seasons. They might change manager. And then Gyokeres gets to 30, 31, starts falling off and leaves. And then they're looking at Sesko playing at Chelsea, and he's banging in 35 goals a season every single year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, killing it. And they might look back and go, fuck. We bet on the wrong horse. And I
think
know
that'd be the wrong way to look at it, Dom.
Well, I'm giving you a scenario. There's multiple ways you can go. I'm going by the point that was made earlier. This is where I think it's easy for me to say because I'm not an Arsenal fan, and I know they want to win now. I just think there's so many hyperbolic, very extreme, my way or the highway sort of views about their signings this summer. I think it was Lee Judges who said it's make or break for the club this summer, and I'm like, that just feels an exaggeration because even if you get it wrong and it's disappointing, you can always improve on it and go again. Like our clubs will always get the chance to go again, right? This sort of idea that this is it. If it doesn't happen this time,
we're never like this is make or break for Arteta.
I agree with Arteta. I agree with that point for him. But I just think so much is being made out of it, and I'm not one. I need an Arsenal fan to make it make sense to me. I'm just sitting there going, I don't know if it's as deep. Maybe it's because I rate both players as well. So I'm not looking at it and thinking you're going from amazing to absolute dog shit. I feel like you're looking at 2 really, really good strikers. I'm just not seeing the panic personally, but maybe that's just me. Leslie here says, if Arsenal get Gyokeres, they are winning the league, Terry. They may very well do. But there are also Arsenal fans and there are also rivals that now United are getting him and saying, well, it's the Portuguese league. What if he doesn't deliver here? Why is it only Man United and Juve that are looking at him? There's also that to be spoken about as well. Terry, you took Judges out of context. I'm only going by what AFTV published. Like that's the bit I saw. So to be fair, if I've taken it out of context, I apologize. It's just a snippet that I looked at, but that makes sense if it's out of context and not true. Because that again, I thought it was a wild comment to make there. Gyokeres is a counter-attacking player. Again, this is illogical though. It means you haven't watched Sporting play. The amount of goals I've seen him score where his team have progressed the ball that are not just counter-attacks. Plus, the Premier League is the highest counter-attacking league in Europe. There's no league in Europe that has more counter-attacks than the Premier League. The Athletic posted that about 2 weeks ago. We have more transitional attacks than any other league at the top 5 in Europe. So if he is a counter-attacking player, great. All of our teams counter-attack every single game, don't we? Because a lot of teams in the Prem attack now as well. I just don't think it's this weird, it's just, I think it's people that are looking for something to attack him with. And, I don't think there's something there.
You also don't score 100 goals in 2 years if all you can do is hit teams in transition.
Exactly.
This here says Gyokeres is technically terrible. Prem teams will eat him alive. I'm going to throw this to you guys. I want to ask this question first. When you say technically terrible, can you define what you mean by technically? Because I bet if I ask all of this panel, we get 5 different answers for what technical ability means. So you need to tell us what your view of technical ability is. Then we can debate it. Because Will could go off for 5 minutes saying you're wrong, but you and him could be talking about different things. Do you mean ball control? Do you mean passing? Do you mean what do you mean the way he strikes a ball? You need to tell us what you mean by technically, so we can debate that. Does that make sense, guys? Because we could all think of, because we all see it. When people say like my guy's not skillful, it's like some people think of skills like Ronaldinho, some think of skills like Zidane. They didn't have the same skills. They had different types of skills. They're both skillful. So I need you to tell me what you mean by that, brother. Okay, he passes the ball 5 yards in front of himself. Do you mean with his first touch? You think his first touch is bad?
The thing is, he scores goals, and that's a striker's job. I think it's the same way for me when people talk about defenders and their passing ability. But my question is, can they actually defend? Like a striker's job, if he's banging in 30 goals, 40 goals a season, no one's going to talk about technical ability. So if he comes to the Premier and he does that, no one's going to talk about his first touch or anything.
But I do think that if you believe that he's not technically gifted in terms of if he can't control the ball, if he can't progress it, if his passing is wayward or whatever, I think it is a valid criticism to bring up, especially if you do play in a more possession-based team where you're going to have to break down low blocks. I feel like that's a fair.
If anything, though, I'd say a striker in a possession team is on the ball less because they're typically just waiting in and around the box for the ball to come to them.
Like
rather
Haaland.
than, like...
Who scored 50 goals?
Going to sound mad me saying this, but Haaland is a very technically limited footballer.
He is.
But he's the best striker on the planet and has been for a number of years because when he's on your team, you couldn't give a shit if your striker has a first touch that puts him 30 yards ahead. If he's scoring every other week, if he's scoring goals in big games, if he's in the right position at the right time to kick the ball in the net to win you games of football, you do not care about how nice or how silky his touch is. A striker's job, especially for Arsenal, who I'm consistently told just need someone to put the ball in the net, is to score goals. Gyokeres might have a poor first touch. I don't think it's, one of the best first touches on the planet. I don't think it's that bad, but I don't think it's one of the best. But what he does do? He gets himself in the right positions in the box time and time again. That's why so many of his goals are in and around the 6-yard box.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I looked at a stat here. So Victor Gyokeres has in the league 2.8 unsuccessful touches per game. So that's where his first touch leads to a loss of possession. So a bad first touch. To put that into context, in the Premier League as an example, players that are in that same range between 2.4 and 3.4, Mohamed Kudus, Nicholas Jackson, Semenyo, Wissa, Chris Wood, Mo Salah 3.1 times per game, Morgan Rogers 3.1 as an example. Delap, who's gone to Chelsea, 2.8. Mbeumo, that everyone rates and said is technically brilliant, 2.8. João Pedro 2.7. Dominic Solanke 2.6. So I'm looking at it, and then if we go to other leagues for a moment, just to give some context to this, because I've watched him play and I think he's good. We go to La Liga and let's check La Liga's players that lose it the most with their first touch, as an example. Who we got in there? Lamine Yamal loses the ball 2.9 times per game with his first touch, as an example. Mbappe 2.5 times, as an example. So with my eyes watching him, I don't see it. He doesn't lose possession for his team more. Now, you could argue he's in a lesser league, so that could get worse if he's around faster, quicker players. But what I've seen from the guy, he's not losing the ball with his first touch or having bad touches more than the attackers. I just think it's something you're overly focusing on personally, but that's just me. That's just me. Sesko and Gyokeres are equal gambles. Would Saka, Rodrigo, Sesko with Havertz and Martinelli on the bench? Sorry. Would Saka, Rodrigo, Sesko with Havertz and Martinelli on the bench? Is that not good? And is that not enough goals? Maybe same as well.
Both Sesko and Gyokeres are gambles, but the gambles in different ways. You're gambling on whether Gyokeres can translate it to the Premier League at the age he's at. And you're gambling with Sesko on whether he's going to develop into the player that you think. Now, the part that people seem to ignore with Gyokeres is Victor Gyokeres spent about 3 years in the Championship. Now, the Championship has a notoriously good success rate of players coming up and not struggling to adapt to the league. So I don't think this adaptation thing with Gyokeres is going to be a problem. Therefore, I don't think he's an equal gamble. I think Gyokeres is much less of a gamble than a Benjamin Sesko. In terms of that point, Saka, Rodrigo and Sesko with Havertz and Martinelli, I don't think Sesko's going to score enough goals. So in that case, no.
I don't think he's going to play as much. I think we've had this conversation last time. I don't think Sesko comes in and plays as much as people think he does. Because I think the Athletic said it. There's a big article about that Kai Havertz will start the next season as the number 9. Whereas if you bring in Gyokeres, he immediately starts. I don't think that Sesko comes in and is their number 9 immediately. I think he learns the system. He learns the way they play.
Well, yeah, but it's just like what you just said, Henry. Like, for those reasons, I don't think that article is really that relevant. I mean, Kai Havertz knows the system. He knows what the manager wants. So it does make sense that to start off the season.
I don't think they need to bring a striker in who knows where the back of the net is.
No. Yes. But what I'm saying is that, I think Kai Havertz starting off the season would make more sense because he already knows what the manager wants. And then if Sesko, then he gets his opportunities. And then if he's bagging, then he'll be the one that starts. But he probably has to just earn it from Kai. But I do agree, though, in terms of like Victor, he does come in and start from day one. Whereas Sesko is more of a project. I also think really quickly, I also think that, and I said it before, that maybe Arteta is purposefully going for like these project players so that if he doesn't win, then he does have that excuse of, oh, well, look, we only brought Sesko from Leipzig and we didn't expect him to do anything anyways. I feel like the club kind of are moving like that as well. Because then it does give you some kind of like barrier.
Yeah.
Whereas if you sign a more proven player, there's literally no excuses.
I hear that. Sesko might not be that good now, but he is a better fit for the Arsenal team, and Sesko's value might go up after being consistent over 3 to 4 years. Thank you. None of the players mentioned are backup. Bruno at left central midfield against our best interest. Cunha at left attacking midfield. Mbeumo right attacking midfield. Diallo right wing back, and Gyokeres 9. Against our best interest. I don't know. If it is
so he's saying Bruno shouldn't play left centre mid, even though he will do.
Yeah, look, I think it's an interesting one. We're never going to fix all the holes in our squad in one summer. It's never going to happen. And yes, it would have been, Bruno would have gone and wanted to go, and that money would have been raised. It may have been doable, but we're never going to fix all the holes in one summer. And I think Man United fans have got to get that into their heads. Otherwise, you're only going to set yourself up for disappointment. Who in the panel would have the worst browser history? Henry. Straight up, Henry.
I was about to say Tom, but you beat me to it.
No, it's you, bruv. It's you. It's definitely you. Tom's really boring. I've spent time with Tom. He just doesn't do anything. Doesn't even like food.
Yeah, so... I still can't get my how can you not like food?
He literally said if it wouldn't kill me, I wouldn't eat. It's weird.
Yeah.
Which top 6 manager will be the first to get sacked?
Amram.
Maresca.
Yeah, I agree. Maresca.
Really?
Yeah.
What I get Amorim. You kind of spoke. So you think we will struggle in that first 10 games, and we'll get sacked?
Yeah, I think that you'll struggle still to like adapt, depending on whatever business you do. If you obviously sign like more very very good players, then that could all change. But I just feel like Amorim has no room for error at the start of the season. So
I
think United are and I think there's more chance that Ruben gets time than Maresca. Like Man United could still sell 100 million of academy players in Rashford and Garnacho and then go and add. I think Chelsea, Man United's fan base are prepared to be patient with this because they've seen the shit their club's dealt with for the last decade. Chelsea aren't in that predicament. They're still holding the club standards. I think once Maresca, I think he's a good manager. I just don't think he's what Chelsea want and need. They want, like, their fans want to win the league title. I don't think you're going to win that under Enzo Maresca. I just don't. There's nothing about his CV when he was managing at Leicester, or was it Parma before that? There's nothing about him that tells me they're going to win a league title.
I have a Chelsea agenda, so I want Maresca to get sacked.
Like Ruben Amorim's dethroned Porto and bloody Benfica's dominance for the last 12 years and got Gyokeres in the best scoring form of his life, who, by the way, absolutely slapped City 4-1 in the Champions League. Like the narrative, but Gyokeres can't do it against English teams. He spanked City. He missed a couple of chances against Arsenal in that Champions League game. Like, he's got European pedigree. I think, but back to your question, I do think it'll be Maresca first.
If I'm being logical, I'll go Thomas Frank. I just think that's going to be another weird one where they don't give him enough time.
I get why those three are the three favourites, and I get it. I think all the arguments make sense. I'm going to go for a left field option that's worth a punt and say, whether it's sacked or mutual consent, I'm throwing in Pep, because I actually think their signings are really good. I think they'll do well. I'm purely speaking objectively here and playing devil's advocate. So City fans watching, if you're crying, it's because you lack emotional intelligence and you need a friend and you need to get the fuck out of the basement, right? I've got to say it bluntly because it's true, right? If the signings don't work, is all I'm saying here. If Cherki comes in and struggles to adapt, as an example, and they don't start well, and they have a horrible start and they start losing games, I think you could see a massive kind of cloud of stress come over Pep, and you could see him leave before the end of this remaining 2 years. So I'm just throwing it out there as a left field option to this question, although it wouldn't be in my top 3. I'm just throwing it out there as a punt. If it doesn't work, the man, because imagine after spending 400 million, You got the same problems as last year. I don't know if he can cope with that. That's all I'm trying out.
I think
there.
he's most likely to walk. I think he's most likely to.
Sorry, it's not delusional, B. It's literally called a left field objective devil's advocate answer. It's not delusional. It's a little bit of fun.
It's a hot take. Hot take.
It's a hot take on purpose. I literally said the main three are there. I'm just throwing it out there as if something goes wrong, I could see him going by mutual consent, potentially.
Yeah, he's definitely the one that would walk. If he had another season where he came like fourth and like come January he was already out the title race again, I think it'd just be a case of I'm burnt out. I need to get a sabbatical again.
Yeah. Because I can't ever see Pep getting sacked. Like I can't. So yeah, I agree, Tom. I think it'll be like him walking. I can't see them sacking him.
Yeah, they would do it by mutual consent if that was. But I can also see get to December, mid-December, if he was 15, 20 points off top, sitting in fifth, losing games, like things weren't going well, I could definitely see him going, I can't do this, and walking away. I really could. Although that's far less likely to happen than Amorim struggling, than Maresca going backwards, than Thomas Frank not settling. Completely agree. But yeah, it's a left field option. Realistically, Arteta won't have to develop Sesko much. For fuck's sake, he's got a midfielder who knows more for his dueling ability than his consistent run of goals.
What?
I mean, Arteta will have to develop Sesko though.
What? I don't even know what midfielder he's talking about.
Havertz.
I have no idea what the Superchats.
Havertz is there by design. I would understand if circumstances put Havertz up front and there was no other option. But it's by design that Havertz is up front because Mikel wants Havertz to be his number 9. Or are you on about Marino? Because Marino's not. So you want Marino top. He didn't get Marino playing like this striker. He had Marino as a header right in the box. You have Marino as a physical presence. If you're on that's not how you would want Sesko to play.
Marino, he just isn't a number 9, is he? Like that's what managers used to do. Just put a centre back in the box and just throw the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah.
Like you've got to look at what tools
if you
you've got
want
available.
Benjamin Sesko to do what Mikel Marino does, just run it with Mikel Marino. There's no point in spending 90 million quid on a striker.
Run it back. Listen, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in. Please hit the like button for me before you go. Make sure you're subscribing. This is going to redirect you to Don Hassam's channel, so go and enjoy that. 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, it's back. Hot Take with myself and Mark Goldbridge live here, 11 a.m. UK time tomorrow. So make sure you're here. It's going to be fun. Some great clips to show, some great tweets to share to get Goldbridge's opinions on. Will, Henry, and Tom, plus the other guest, David, and who else was here? Dubes. Thank you all very, very much for coming on and having your say. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Peace.